So, today's presentation is about the precursor of Hong Kong new waves. The content of my presentation will be, firstly, her awards and filmography. Secondly, 3 focuses throughout her film career. Thirdly, her recent film's 2 endings. And lastly, the summary of her career. Let me show you some of her highlight moment before I tell you who she is. So she is a Hong Kong director of 31 films, producer of 14 films, actor for 21 films, planning for 4 films, art consultant for 1 film, and costume designer for 1 film. She's also one of the most critically acclaimed Hong Kong New Wave filmmakers. Guess who is she? She won a lot of awards. The Golden Lion for Lifetime Achievement at Venus, September 8, 2020. This is the most recent one. And then for Our Time Will Come, for The Golden Heir, for A Simple Life, for Night and Fog, The Way We Are, The Postmodern Life of My Aunt, for Summer Snow, for Sound of Exile, for Both People. She is Ann Hui, Xuanhua in Chinese. She was born on May 23rd, 1947. She's also a Gemini in Anshan, Manchuria. Her mom is a Japanese, while her father is a Chinese. She earned a master's degree in English and Comparative Literature from the University of Hong Kong. Later on, she studied at the London Film School for 2 years. She worked first as assistant for famous Chinese director King Fu, and later on, she made several short documentaries for a popular Hong Kong network called TVB. Her feature film debut, The Secret, earned the Golden Horse Award for Best Picture Film. Fun fact, it's a thriller. Then her glorious journey is a food. Next, I hope to talk about the 3 different focuses in her film career. The first focus is the national identity and diaspora people. Diaspora means to disperse in Greek. Ann Hui is interested in depicting diaspora people experience. Diaspora originates from Greek, which means to disperse. This represents people who have 2 or more home countries and cultures that they identify with, but they don't feel they belong to neither of the countries. One example is from Ann Hui's Sound of the Exile. This is the original DVD cover of Sound of the Exile. The main question asked in the film is, what is it like to be a 26-year-old girl who was born in Hong Kong but studies in London and whose mom is a Japanese? The main protagonist, Hui Ying feels she has an identity crisis as she needs to constantly adapt to different cultures as she travels. Scholar Audrey Yue mentions that Sound of Exile features double consciousness and dual cultural identity when the main characters are both physically dislocated and mentally disoriented. Similarly, Phoebe Chen says in her review that Sound of Exile is a braid of 3 tongues, opening with English in London, then switching to Mandarin Cantonese as she returns to Hong Kong for her younger sister's wedding. Interestingly, Hui's mom is also a Japanese, and Hui went to London to study as well. So Sound of Exile may reflect some of her early experiences as she adjusts to different homes and cultures and selves built in different languages, and she is also trying to form new intimacies along the way. Moving on. The next focus is also a watershed in Ann Hui's career. So, from 1995, when she made Summer Snow, this time she switched from depicting national identity to address gender issues and convey social critics. Hui's female characters struggle with their roles, wishes, and identities when they have to constantly adjust their lives and fulfill responsibilities in society. For example, in Summer Snow, the main protagonist is Mason, the girl, the woman in white in this picture. She is a 40-year-old housewife in Hong Kong. May is a very strong and independent woman. But why is this film called Summer Snow? May, as her name indicates, the month May in summer. She is a very warm and passionate woman, but she experiences some snowy days in her life. Mei is passionate and capable doing work, but as a traditional Chinese woman living in an old house in Hong Kong, she doesn't really like using computers. So she feels very upset when the boss favors the younger employees in her company who are good at using new technologies. Another conflict happens at home when she has to shoulder the responsibility to help his father, who has Alzheimer's disease, but she receives little support from her disintegrated family. So the film shows Ann Hui's acute awareness of how modernization of Hong Kong strikes the traditional and peripheral citizens since the rapid societal and rapid developments in Hong Kong after 1980s. However, what is unique about Summer Snow is that despite the difficulties May encounters at first, she gradually receives support from her father when he expresses his appreciation to May's enormous contribution to the family. The last focus of Ann Hui cinema is to use marginalized, underrepresented people from society to express the disparities of old Hong Kong and new Hong Kong. Scholars argue that Ann Hui films give meanings to larger social and political contexts by portraying small moments of characters' everyday lives on screen. For example, in Postmodern Life of My Aunt, we see a single living woman in her late 50s struggling to live a respected life in Shanghai because she trusts people too easily and her old-fashioned ways of living are not accepted by people around her. Later, she has to leave Shanghai to find her daughter in Liaoning. This film also reflects Ann Hui's motivation and interest, because in one of her interviews, Ann Hui also expresses her interest in showing people from marginalized parts of society. She says that my family and I are part of the marginalized group, just as the majority of Hong Kong society is part of that group. My concern for those who are part of the periphery and the weak is my interest and my nature. But how about her recent films after 2011? Are they different from previous films? The answer is definitely yes. Okay. Despite that many scholars focus on her most acclaimed classical films, I personally prefer her recent film because her characters are less suffered and have better outcomes. In her recent films, for example, The Golden Era 2016 and Our Time Will Come, the main female characters, Xiao Hong and Feng Lan, are awarded with recognition and victory. And this is the ending when she directly addresses us. When she stares at the camera, I feel very powerful. Like she is a very empowered character near the end, and I feel like her legacy will live in the readers, especially my mind and all of the other readers' mind forever. Like her spirit will go on. Similarly, in Feng Lan in Ann Hui's 2017 film Our Time Will Come is also in the center of the frame when she waves goodbye to her warmate and she goes to the war zone in the final shot. In the ending of Our Time Will Come, Feng Lan is also in the center of the frame when she waves goodbye to her warmate as she goes to the war zone. In the first shot, we see her waving goodbye. See you after victory, she says, and the camera moves away as she gazes at where she goes. In the reverse shot, the warmate's boat fades away and 60 years of history is condensed to reveal how a rural mountain transforms to modern Hong Kong. Together with the upbeat background music, she seems to be both saying goodbye to the turbulent present and welcoming a hopeful future once the war ends. The ending of two films both implore direct dresses, as well as hopeful and futuristic shots. So I think Ann Hui elevates the significance of the two heroines of the age in her recent two films, which aims to emphasize their enduring influence in Chinese literature and history. In summary, Anne Hui is known for her honest portraits of women across different historical periods in times where the society they live in experienced drastic changes. By showing their experiences, we not only get to know their female experiences on screen, but also feel the blast of strong female characters' spiritual power. This is Anne Hui, one who never ceases to make movies of Chinese women, by women, and for women. She's also the past, the present, and future of Hong Kong cinema. Thank you.